Replace rear disc brakes in a Ford F-Series. Most cars employ drum brakes on the rear, but higher-end vehicles use a disc-type brake at the rear for better stopping power. The rear disc brake stops or slows the rotation of a rear wheel by using a rotor. Replacing the rear disc brakes in a Ford F-Series truck is just the same with other similar works. This includes F-150, F-250 Super Duty, F-350 Super Duty, F-450 Super Duty, and F-550 Super Duty. There is no specialized tool from the Ford dealership necessary to replace the rear disc brakes of a Ford F-Series truck. Materials needed: you will need a C-clamp, car jack, jack stands, mechanic's wire, torque wrench, 2 outboard brake pads, and 2 inboard brake pads. Raise the F-Series truck. With the use of the car jacks, you need to raise the F-Series truck off the ground. In order not to let the vehicle tip over, the sides of the F-Series truck must be supported with jack stands. It is best that only adults are around while doing this procedure. Take the wheels out. The lug nuts on the wheels should be loosened. You can use the torque wrench for this part. Carefully pull the wheel out of its place. The same way goes with the tire assembly. The wheel and the tire assembly must be placed close somewhere in the meantime. Avoid causing any damage on the wheel and the tire assembly. Leave them facing upwards. Remove the disc brake pads. Begin by cutting the connection of the caliper bolts. Next up, take the brake caliper out. Fasten the brake caliper to the side rail of the F-Series vehicle. You can use a regular mechanic's wire to fasten it. By that time, you can now remove the disc brake pads starting from the outer disc brake pads to the inner disc brake pads. Utilize the C-clamp. Have the C-clamp work by pressing together the piston and the caliper bore. Take the inner disc brake pads and replace it to its original location. Follow it with the outer disc brake pads. Once the pads are secured, take the C-clamp out. Set torque to the fastener. Take the mechanic's wire off the caliper. When the caliper is ready, lay it over the disc brake pads. Use the torque wrench on tightening the caliper bolts after fastening it down. Set the torque to 26 feet-pound. Lower the F-Series truck. Replace the wheels on its proper location onto the lug bolts and tighten the lug nuts to proper torque specification using a criss-cross pattern. Lower the F-Series truck to the ground. If it is needed, bleed the brakes. Make sure that everything is working before trying out the truck. Once you have replaced the rear disc brakes, it does not simply stop from there. Check the performance of the replaced rear disc brakes by means of having a short test drive. If there are some things you do not clearly understand, or if there are problems that arise from what you have done, consult a professional.